We're just about to start the video, and I told my buddy Greg here, who does the video, that I had no idea what we're going to do. And that's because as a spiritual person, you're never really here. I'm speaking to all of us, several hundred million of us that are very spiritual in the world. We're not really here. You know what I'm saying? So the moment this starts, it just comes to me, and I, like if I'm doing healing or working with people that have difficulties or whatever, you're not your body or your problems or the solution to your problems. You're made of something lighter than air and more beautiful than love. It's the ultimate love song. It's so pure, and it has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with anything that ever happened in our life here in this world. All spiritual people are aware of this. We're not our body, we're just not even here. There's just a lightness, a purity, a wonder. And that's it. But we're here for a reason. We're here to help. We have outstretched arms. And they're powerful arms, invisible though they are. We can do anything. And in this life, we will do everything. That's why we're here. The whole point is spiritual people have always taken half steps to try to meet the world where it is. Please stop taking half steps. Know that you are God's presence. And there's a purity to that, and I say that very directly, but there's a humility involved with it, a preciousness. It's like greeting the dawn, you know, it's just, everything is fresh every moment. Every moment is a new dawn. This is said literally. A new dawn meaning this beauteous, beatific wonder that all spiritual people around the world experience 24 hours a day. Now, of course, we're all beaten, we're battered around the clock from the conditioning of the world from birth to the present. But that's not who we are. So we figure ways, there are so many ways to let go of the trauma. But if we understand that we are now God's presence, and remember all those beautiful visions we had throughout our life, then we get stabilized in our practice, and we're simply here. So we must know, absolutely know, that that's who we are. That's what we are. We dropped in here through that aperture called birth to experience everything that the world is so we can communicate with people. Does that make sense? If you're going on a mission, you're a young Marine, you have to go through all kinds of training, even prisoner of war training and so forth and so on, what you would do. It's every possible scenario is fresh within you. You've trained. So we volunteer, we're here, and so everything that hits us of this world, all the temptations, all the evil, all the vileness, that's our backpack, that's our weaponry. We're ready to go. I know when I lived in the city and I had a beautiful place and people come over and they'd feel all this spirituality and then eventually get cards and letters from it, invitations to come to this or that, the other, rather than continuing to the spiritual empowerment classes. They want me to come because they got this or that or a love or a new home. And then I realized that you don't need to feel the beauty of God. What you need to do is learn to fight temptation. So in the beginning of our spirituality, we have to learn to combat the temptation by giving it nothing. And no matter how real it seems, if we're very, very deep in the pocket, you know, riding low in the saddle, in our stance, like Greg, who teaches 10th degree martial arts, you get very low in your stance and you're completely at ease. You can handle anything. And in spirituality, you'll have all these gifts, you'll have these techniques for working with people, for listening to people. And the whole point is you can't be tempted anymore. So this will take you a year, I think 3 to 5 months for any of us, to hear these words and realize we don't have to react to anything. And if there's something really emergent that's physical, you'll deal with it. Anything. That's why we're here. We understand everything. And though we have these gifts and magical presences with us that uplift all of our friends and loved ones, the biggest ingredient is the ability to train others to not react to the temptations that surround the whole world. So getting back to the very beginning where we started, we are this quietude, this simplicity. And there's a beauty to it. The air is just sparkling like starlight at midnight. You know, it's just perfect. All the spiritual people, we all experience this 24 hours a day. And even though we're inundated with the temptations of the world and other people's thoughts and emotions, we're here, aren't we? And that's why it hurts so bad, why it's so tragic, the temptations of people. Questioning one another. And we don't question one another once we're deep in the saddle. We know, we absolutely know we are this presence. This quiet, sweetness, kindness. We're simply here. And I could say not just in the present carries a sense more beautiful than love. Can you imagine that? It's the other end of the rainbow. That's the real you, your real presence that you gave up to be in this world at this time, and you took on all the temptations of the world by assuming a human body. In Tibet they call the human body a precious, precious gift. The point is that if you're spiritual and you have a human body, you have a time sense, you can figure things out, and that's the instrument we work with, right? Whereas if you're out of the body and you're not spiritual, 4 days can seem like 400 years, or the inverse or the reverse, because it's very, very complex. So in the body, this is our meditation cushion, and we learn not to react, not this, not that, like they have in all the yogic practices. In other words, don't react to this thought, that thought, anything. Heat, cold. It's not that you're ambivalent, you don't acknowledge the conditions of the world. And one day you'll just see through it all. You are a clear transparency of God. That's why we seek time alone, we walk into the hills, I sit in my chair too much. And fortunately I've had these tremendous physical problems the last couple of years where I can't go, and now that's all getting fixed. And so, but there was no tragedy there. It forced me to spend more time alone, and I'm completely happy about it, never questioned it, except a certain little tinge of guilt for those I love, not being able to be with them. At the same time, all my life, I've not wanted to be with anyone, anywhere, doing anything except transmitting this transmission of the gift of eternal life. It's so sweet, it's so kind, it's so true. Learn to sit low in the saddle. Not this, not that, any thought, any impression. And then you'll see psychic impressions and psychic thoughts. And being psychic to the world, people that, oh, I can tell what this person's thinking or not, that's another form of evil. I can do that if I want, but I don't want, because it's like looking through someone's window. It's creepy. Being psychic to stuff in the world, but being clairvoyant to God, that's spirituality. That's who you are. And in this, you'll see how to deal. You'll have these gifts and powers and presences to uplift all those you love. And part of the sad truth I'm saying is that it's part of the teaching. The biggest part is teaching other people about their temptations and how to let go of them. But that's what a warrior does. Whatever the battlefield looks like, that's what we deal with. That's why you're trained. You're a young Marine. You understand? You're ready for anything. You're going to go into the battle. And you have these gifts, and you can see through everything, as I do right now, in 24 hours a day, all my life, even when I'm going through utter hell. I understand it all. And sometimes you got to give in to, not give into it, but you're inundated more than, and the people around you cannot understand that they're being tempted. This one's fighting with that one, and you're in the middle looking at, you know, they have a sub-personality, and this one and that one fighting each other, and you're going, why am I here? But when one or both of them are spiritual, you'll be able to lift them out of the battlefield and out of battlefield earth into the heavenly sweetness. And that's who you are. When you're helping people with their psychological, emotional needs or traumas, we're all conditioned to a different degree in this world by our circumstances, or growing up, our family. So when you're with people, first of all, you're very quiet inside, and you learn to listen to them, to your client, to your friend. It's a loved one, no matter who they are. Once they're in this spiritual field of inquiry, then they're God's presence as you are, so you never, never, never react to anything, the person you're working with to do healing work. Never react to any thought or impression they have. You're always here in the Pure Land, listening, acknowledging, not absorbing their pain, but not reacting to it. And when you acknowledge when it's coming, oh, that hurt you, you know, someone says this or that hurt, and you don't react to it, you just kind of shake your head. And inside yourself, you're not taking it in, you're acknowledging that they're getting out what's true to them, or what's harming them, or what's beautiful to them. Sometimes I have lists of beautiful things in building, in the arts, in spiritual experiences. I'll ask people to tell me 10 spiritual experiences they have. And when they tell me, I don't react to it, I don't go, I just listen to every word they say, and when I know they've finished saying it, you're in this quiet place, thank you for telling me. Thank you. And without any edge to it, it's just simple purity, that you acknowledge it and you got it. And that is the thing you'll find in your whole life, that people never, ever, 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 ever listen to one another. If people listen to one another, and this is not even spiritual, the world would end in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 seconds. It's the same thing in the Hindu religion, where not this, not that. In yogic practice, in other words, you don't react to this or that, any impression, any thought. And you find the old Vedas, the Upanishads from 5,000 years ago in India, and they're just, that's all they'll ever say, with a magnificent tinge to it. But that's all it is, not this, not that. So if people listen to one another, the world would end. The socio-political nonsense. You can be on any side of anything, and I'm listening to you, you have no idea where I'm at, but you feel okay to be yourself, to have your own thoughts. But beyond that, it's not social, political, it's always spiritual. You always want to heal one another. So you learn to be like in the pocket, deep in the saddle, and you don't react to anything. You just keep your steed, your horse completely quiet under you. All you have to do is turn your eyes this way or that way, and the horse will know to move this way or that way. You don't have to smack it unless there's a, you know, use your whip or whatever, unless there's a great weather condition or something. The point is that it's a joy to be you, to be alive, if you're spiritual. Those are different times and places in history, and in spiritual history, this is that time spoken of in the Holy Scripture, that there be time no longer, that the mystery of God should be finished, and whether it's now or 400 years from now, or whatever you believe, the point is that you don't have to give in to the tragedy, to the horror. The horrors are projected by a force called Satan, and if you give it nothing, not this, not that, it's not a happiness you'll have. It's so endlessly transcendent of this world when you get into this place spiritual, and then you get on a deeper level, not this, not that. Oh boy, you are made of divine steel. It's a wonder. You feel like 100 billion precious, huge diamonds. You shine from within. It's just gorgeous. And then You'll see this dark presence around that projects the whole world, and it's like a mainframe, and it would make Google blush. It's so manifold that all the temptations, and you'll see every color, there are a billion different textures and shades of it, but you don't react to any of it. And to be here is holiness, and yet it's more natural than breathing. It's lighter than air. It's kinder than love. It's truer than truth. But it's not beyond the meditation of the sage, meaning the wise one, meaning you in this hour, to overcome all the darkness. Not this, not that. So you know what I'm saying? We're all spiritual. The temptations are manifold. They can be about this, or affection, or love, or things, or someone said this or that, or someone's mean, or someone you're afraid of, or someone you want to get back at, and you let go of all of it during this hour of temptation, which has come upon the whole world. But the world is nothing. It is a projection. It's a construct. Not this, not that. You're God's hero. You're here at this time to teach your friends and loved ones, especially your mom and your puppy and your dear love and your dear ones, your sisters and brothers, your family and friends, those that you know are worthy, meaning those who are spiritual, to give them the gift of transcendence by simply being present, listening, caring, loving, caressing, holding, adoring, and most of all, praying for. But these prayers become lighter than air. You are God's very presence in the world, and this is the point I wanted to make at this time. Yes, it's all temptation, and I'm saying even the physical realities and the violence, if you're really, really quiet and deep in your saddle, you can change even the horrible things of the world. You understand? In the beginning, you'll do different healings or something. The girl at the front desk here, we're in a big gym, had a big problem with her knee, and I just walked over, and I knew she was spiritual, so I just said, oh, just, tell me what's happening with it. And as soon as I touched it, because she was spiritual, it went away. She had it for 4 or 5 months. It's not, but you're not here for that kind of healing. Because she's spiritual, I'm spiritual. She let go of it and just never thought about it again. So I didn't give that problem that she was feeling anything. I'm saying it for all of us. I've done this with very powerful circumstances in the world, social, political, or certainly in the field of battle and violence. I've been able to see through it all, and you can't explain exactly. It's always a little different. Everything will change. And you'll see it like a phantasmagorical, like a movie, like a special effects. But there's this beauteous purity with it. You will change, and you'll have an instance here, or 2 or 3 months later, or something. There's an accident or something, and you can actually change, or something of very violent nature. Talked about an experience with some wild kids on the street recently, where it was about to become very dangerous for a mom with a kid in a stroller and a young dad, and these kids being very rude and rough on the streets, and it just moved through me, and I changed the whole physical reality. You understand? It just became spiritual, and they couldn't fight it. So the one bike flipped over, and I reached over to reach the kid up who was the bad boy. He wouldn't take that because he was still prideful, but they were being prideful and acting tough around families. It was 16, 17-year-old kids that were like, you would call street punks or something, But the whole physicality of it changed. And I can go on to many, many instances in my life where things change, and you'll have 1 or 2 experiences very lightly, a few seconds here and there. And then at some point, you'll know you're born to change the world. To let everyone know that it doesn't have to be. You have gifts and powers. They're more than you think. Rarely will they be in that physical sense, but you'll very delicately be able to fix the hearts and minds and souls of those around you that you find worthy. Most people, you just got to keep walking, and that's okay. They'll have their just end. It's said with no, just, this can't go on any longer. Is there a time they stop defending your fine senses? Don't you think it's wrong the way your mom was treated in this world? Don't you? Do you have the courage to quietly look through it all? Thank you.